Isaac Dolan says, I think this is going to be Ballygunner's year because Munster feels weaker than years gone by. I think it's hard to fully disagree with that because, like, the Piercy team that were at their peak a couple of years ago, I think are stronger than what Kilmallock are right now. And I'm not trying to do down Kilmallock. It's just like that in the Piercy team, when it was at full peak with Shane Dowling, with all those lads, before they got injured. When they won the All-Ireland, and obviously were in the draw in All-Ireland with us, that was them at peak, I would have said. And if they're not there, Thurles aren't there anymore. When Thurles were winning year after year after year. Fine, they didn't win the All-Ireland, but they obviously won a Munster title and they were a very strong team. I'm very keen to see how the Tip champions get on this year. No Tipperary team has won the All-Ireland since '87. Obviously, Bursley won the provincial against the head, most people would have thought a couple of years ago. But I was very curious to see how Killadangan might have got on last year. I tipped them obviously to win Tip this year as things stand. Very interested to see how a Tip team will get on. So do you agree with that comment from Isaac there that Munster feels weaker than years before?
Well, if you look at it, who's been the dominant force in Limerick in the last 5 to 6 years? In the Piercy, they're not there. Tip haven't had a dominant force, should we say. Thurles were the last dominant force. So it's going to be either Killadang, it'll probably be their first venture into Munster if they do win, or it'll be Thurles's, another venture into Munster, but not with the team that they had. Would say not with Lar and a few others and probably Pádraig Matter in his pomp. There's no outstanding team in Cork. The outstanding team in Cork is a divisional side that was beaten at the weekend that were never going to represent Cork in Munster. So you'd have to say, yeah, like on paper, Ballygunner definitely look probably short favourites to win it. But they've slipped up before and they could well slip up again.
I wonder with Clare. Like Ballyea are obviously the team that have gone and represented most strongly in the last number of years, winning Munster. But because Tony Kelly is out, number one, you wouldn't be entirely sure they'd win Clare, and I think that seriously hampers any chance they'd have beyond there. But interestingly, Adrian McGrath says, and this is in terms of which is the strongest county championship in terms of depth and stuff like that, Clare by a mile if you factor in the way the teams go from final stages one year to relegation threaten the next. Actually, this is something that's a bit of a theme that we're seeing at the moment, of teams that won county titles struggling. Like St. Vincent's were running club Gaelic football for a number of years. They got relegated on Friday night. Castlerahan, didn't they win Cavan a couple of years ago? They've been relegated. I think Navan O'Mahony's are struggling. I think they're in relegation bother at the moment. I think there's probably... What's that?
Owlert to Bala.
Perfect example. So this is kind of happening across the board, that there are plenty of champions. I wonder, is there a common thread among some of these teams? If anyone has any thoughts on that, let us know.
The one with Owlert would with due respect to the current generation, would be they had a golden generation. A lot of them of a similar age. Would say Rory Jacob, Mick Jacob, Keith Rossiter, Darren Stamp, etc. They were at an age, when they won their Leinster title and when they could have won an All-Ireland that year if they'd beaten the Piercy. They were a couple of years after that. A lot of those guys are gone. They're trying to build a new team, but you're trying to replace a lot of absolutely legendary figures within the club. And with due respect to what's coming, it's unlikely it's going to replace what was there, and that can happen a lot of the time too.
So Declan O'Keefe says Kilmallock have been generally inconsistent this year. There's a fair chance they'll be turned over by the Cork champions if they come into that game.
I don't know about that. They've started off. They started off very poorly against the Piercy. They at least produced, a flurry against Ballybrown, and they were good. They were good in extra time against South Liberties. They were brilliant against Doon, and they were very good yesterday. So I'm not sure about that. They were inconsistent at the start, but I think they've been consistent in recent games.
If you enjoyed this piece of content, please follow us on YouTube by hitting the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the page, which helps the channel grow. And if you want audio podcasts, go to patreon.com/ourgame.